Hi everyone, this is a short video about, it's for YouTube Pagans. They're doing a weekly series this week, or rather, I'm a little behind on it because I just found out about it, but this week is how I found my pagan path. And I've been on my path for a little over 20 years. I currently identify as a witch and a pagan, but my path kind of started when I found the metaphysical section in the bookstore, where I ended up buying Earth, Air, Fire, and Water by Scott Cunningham, and that kind of opened up my worldview. You know, I was always into the paranormal and the occult, but when I found out that magic was real, is really what started me on my path. Now, since then, you know, I was Wiccan and I got into Thelema for a little bit and read up on the Golden Dawn, and I was very into ceremonial magic. And I even got into chaos magic and a little left hand path at some point. Back to Wicca. Always went back and forth to Wicca. But where I'm at now, after 20 years, is I am following a more of a traditional witchcraft path, which is mostly non-Wiccan. And mostly, I mean, it's non-Wiccan. You know, if you're following traditional witchcraft, you're not really Wiccan. I mean, Cochrane would roll over in his grave, right? So I get some influence from Robert Cochrane, but what started me on that path was just hearing about it online and finding out that there were rather people who were interested in researching and trying to find out and explore what witchcraft could actually be, and not it just being a 19th century based magical system. So I found that very interesting and very intriguing, and so I started reading up on Robert Cochrane and Paul Hewson and other authors that are associated with traditional witchcraft, and bloggers, you know, like Sarah Ann Lawless, who's I consider a good friend, at least a good online friend. We have yet to meet, but you know, we chat once in a while, and she has a great bunch of information. But what kind of really tipped the scales into where I'm at now is, for about a year, I was working in a Gardnerian coven. You know, from 2013 to 2014, I was in a Gardnerian coven. 6 months outer court, 6 months inner court. And as a result of being in that coven, one of the things I had to do as a student was research Hearn the Hunter. So for those of you who don't know who Hearn the Hunter is, Hearn the Hunter he's a horned god that haunts, a horned spirit rather. You know, someone might just call him a spirit, someone would think of him more as a god, but he haunts the forest in Windsor Forest in the UK. So he's this local spirit that haunts a local forest in the UK that has somehow elevated himself to deity status in certain witch circles. Some of you are thinking, so what? Well, I live in South Jersey, and in South Jersey we have this creature called the Jersey Devil, who haunts the Pine Barrens, which is a very large forest that takes up the majority of the southern half of the state. And there is this folklore about this Jersey Devil that haunts this forest. So when I learned about Hearn, and that he was a spirit that haunted a forest that got elevated up to a deity in some instances in certain circles of witchcraft, I instantly thought of the Jersey Devil. So it appealed to me to actually elevate the Jersey Devil and to start approaching the Jersey Devil as more than just a local, you know, story. You know, taking the Jersey Devil and elevating it to not being just a spirit, but possibly some kind of a deity. You know, not necessarily for worship, but more so as like a spirit of the land, something that we could, my girlfriend and I could tap into and work with. So that's kind of where we're at now, and we're intermixing that with some of our backgrounds, you know, some of like traditional witchcraft, her background in hoodoo and voodoo and things like that, and my background with ceremonial magic, and other esoteric systems that I'm just very influenced by. So right now, that's kind of where I'm at. You know, we're formulating this non-Wiccan tradition. We're trying to find something that really fits where we're at in South Jersey and reflects who we are and where we're at. It's a witchcraft tradition, and it's a little ceremonial, you know, but not overly ceremonial. We uh, it's still in the making, but we have our own thing going on, and we're trying to create something that is a little bit outside the box as far as witchcraft practice goes. Um, so, as far as our practice, you know, we work on the full moons, dark moons, and we've completely done away with the wheel of the year altogether. But we, being American, you know, we use Halloween. So Halloween's a part of our yearly calendar. And to completely contrast Halloween, we also use Walpurgisnacht. So, you know, Walpurgisnacht being also known as May Day and Beltane. So it kind of, they're bookends of the year in a sense. So one kind of ushers in the darkness and one kind of ushers in the light for us. And we're also an animist tradition, so we honor the ancestors and the genus Loki. So, but I guess that's kind of getting out of the realms of answering this question of how I found my path. Uh, so, I found my path through the gateway drug of Llewellyn books. So, that's that.